Hello and welcome along to the Panto podcast. This week my guest is magician, entertainer and pantomime star Mark James. In this episode he tells me all about how he got started within the business, his quite famous Britain's Got Talent audition, and how he's never missed a performance. So please sit back and enjoy the latest Panto podcast. My guest today is Mr. Mark James. Hello, Mark.
Hello, nice to see you.
So for our listeners then, how's best to describe yourself?
Oh gosh, best to describe myself. What, size-wise or how much I weigh?
Performer-wise.
Performing-wise. So I do comedy magic. I do Panto every year. I was sort of best known, if you will, for being on Britain's Got Talent in 2010. As the half man, half woman. That's probably that's probably what a lot of people, I know, they say, as soon as I say that, they go, oh, I remember you, the half man, half woman. But yeah, just an all-round, literally, I am an all-round entertainer, size-wise, as well as doing the entertainment side of it.
How did you get started then?
Right, well, this is funny, because I tried to do some prep, and I was thinking, when did I start, and when did I first get introduced to Panto? So for me, I always grew up being like the sort of class clown. I don't mean getting into trouble, but I would be the one that if something was happening in the class, I'd make a joke of it and get a laugh, but not get into trouble, because that wasn't me. I was sort of quite a good kid growing up. I hope I was. Mum and Dad, if you're listening. So I was in Boys Brigades, and my local youth club, I used to get up and do the youth club disco, so I'd always be the first to do the dancing, because I used to love dancing, which I still do, and I used to do little shows, but my first introduction sort of to theatre was, I must have been 7 or 8, very, very young. I mean, I'm 40 this year, but I went to watch Button Moon live. I mean, I grew up with Button Moon and Trapdoor and that type of thing. And I remember entering a competition in our local newspaper, and you basically had to send in a picture, draw a picture of Button Moon, and the best picture won. And I just won. I think it was just a raffle thing. And I won family tickets for 4, I think it was. So my mum and dad, me and my brother, we went to watch Button Moon, and that was at our local theatre in Colne, the Municipal Theatre, which is a lovely little place. It's a 500-seater theatre, but it's one of these like multi-purpose ones, so it's got a stage, a balcony, but they can take all the chairs out, and they do like it's very famous for doing when I think of it, they've just had it this last week, like a rhythm and blues festival. And they do like soul and stuff, and so it turns into a dance floor as well. So we watched Button Moon there, and also our Rolling Rat. That was Rolling Rat live. I couldn't tell you anything to do with the show. I just remember that's the first sort of thing I saw live in the theatre, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. This is like brilliant. Then I used to go, when I was a kid, we used to go to my local church used to do like, we'd do trips out to the Bradford Alhambra, and it'd be to watch Joseph, or we watched Wizard of Oz, and they were pro-am drams. They weren't, I mean, in those days, like I'm talking like mid-80s, early 90s, there wasn't as many tours as there are now, I believe, that, you know, so a lot of the weeks were like, the Bradford Operatic Society present Joseph, but you went in and it was a full production, band and everything, and you just thought you were watching like a West End show. So I watched a few of those, and that was sort of my real first taste of theatre, live theatre. And then growing up, I was probably about 9 or 10. I was just shopping one day, and I found this little magic shop. And I'd always loved magic, and because obviously I was like the little. In those days, I'm still fat now, but I was like the little fat chubby kid that was to sort of, because I was always big, I was just me, and I just wanted to have fun, so I was like always getting up dancing, always being a bit of a joker. And this magic shop, and I went in and I just bought a couple of tricks and showed my grandma and granddad, and they said, oh, go and show the next door neighbours. So I showed my next door neighbours, and then I used to do, like I say, I was in Boys Brigade, and we used to do the Christmas parties, and I'd take some magic down and do bits there. And then one of the mums of one of the kids said, "Oh, my son's having a birthday party in a couple of weeks. Could you do a magic show?" And I thought, "Oh." And she went, "Well, how much would you charge?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And I think I charged something like £5, tax free, of course, cash in hand.
Well, you were a child, weren't you?
I must have been. I think I was about 11 then. So I went out as Magic Mark, and I had a red waistcoat made with the embroidered Magic Mark and a little rabbit and a rainbow, and a little top hat and a magic wand. The sort of usual. This is stereotypical kids entertainer magician, and I just did sort of usual stock. If there's any magicians listening, the usual stock colouring book and the painted picture, just stuff that everyone could do really easily. But there's nice routines, and I just sort of built up doing little routines from that. And so then that first magic show led to another one, and then I started getting a taste for stuff. And I used to do the local discos as well at the youth club. And I remember, this is back in the day before CDs, so I used to have 2 tape decks in a little amplifier, and I'd have to play like Now 27 on tape, and then you'd play on the next cassette. You'd fast forward, put your headphones in and fast forward and find the song, cue it up, and then you'd when that one's finished, you'd press play on the next one. And I remember going to the local market, this is back in the day, and you could buy a copy version of the Now album for like £3 or something, and it looked exactly the same, It's when you could buy, not that I used to do it a lot, but you could buy, I remember buying Jurassic Park on VHS, and we were in Blackpool for the day out, and it was one of those, like 4 for a tenner type of thing, and or you could get 20 gas lighters for £1, those are the days. Get your gas lighters, 20 for £1, and I remember getting Jurassic Park on VHS, and we put it in, and it was just obviously like the worst camcorder copy of it. We thought it was an original because the picture was brilliant, Anyway, I'm digressing there, but that was sort of where I grew up and how I came to being in entertainment. Is I think because I was always the active kid that tried to make people laugh. I used to sing a little bit. I'm not a singer by any means, but I do like a good karaoke night. If we're on a night out, I'll always say, "Oh, where's the karaoke bar?" And everyone goes, "Oh no," but I love it. And my little party piece is Peter Andre, Mysterious Girl, which I do all the voices for, and normally the reaction's really good. I normally 1 or 2 people will come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, are you going to do another one? You've got to do another one." And then I'll get someone say, "So are you a singer?" And I was like, "No, I'm actually a magician. I do comedy magic for the holiday parks." And they're like, "Oh right, you should be a singer. You're really good." So that's sort of me in a nutshell where I am today. But I grew up with the side of theatre. I grew up with the holiday parks, so we used to go on holiday to Haven, Butlins, Warner's at that time was also like Haven. I always found it funny that you'd go to Haven, it used to go Haven Holidays, Super Family Holidays, and then you go to Warner's, which was it was like a sister company, which is now for adults only, and they'd have Warner's Holidays, Super Family Holidays. It was just literally just insert name here, But again, I used to be the person, like Mum and Dad would just say, "Right, we're going to be in the club at 8 o'clock," and I'd go to the kids club, the kids thing. And I remember blagging the red coat at Butlins in those days. That they used to do like the kids disco. And I used to say, "Oh, my uncle's a DJ." He wasn't. I was a white lie. I said, "Oh, I know how to use all this," just because I used to do the kids' discos back home. So I used to then every night I used to do the music for it, and I'd bring my cassette player in. This would be it was bizarre because it was a twin record deck, and we'd have a twin record deck, and I'd have my tape deck, and to play the tapes I'd have to press play on tape, get the microphone and put it next to the speaker because you couldn't do a line out into the system because it was so old. And I remember every night I'd say to Mum and Dad, I'd have tea, and I'd say, "Right, I'm off down to the Butlins club." I can't think what it was at the time. And I'd go and meet the redcoats in their staff room, where they'd all congregate, and I'd sign out the cables with the redcoat. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do this now. It'd be like so, protected and stuff, because obviously kids and adults and stuff. I'd sign the cables out and we'd go and I'd set all the equipment up and do the disco, and the kids say, "Oh, have you got such and such?" And because I had all the New and Now albums on cassette, I'd go, yeah, and I'd find it and put this on. And so I used to do that. And then I remember watching, I used to go and watch I entered the talent show. Again, I was probably about 10 or 11, and I entered the talent show and just did a little bit of magic, a bit of comedy, and ended up winning a holiday and coming back. I didn't even know what the prize was. I just thought it was a bit of fun. So I ended up winning, and I had to go and get my mum and dad and say, "Look, we've won a holiday to come back in like October when it's freezing cold," you know. And so I sorted all that out. But I remember going to Butlins, I think it was at Pwllheli, which is now a Haven Park, seeing Brian Conley live on stage, and he just, if I remember, he was just getting into TV, like with the Saturday Night Live. There's the Metro, if you can hear that in the recording. So I saw Brian Conley live, and I remember in those days at Butlins they used to drive the acts round. They used to have I think it was like Star One. It was like a really beat up car with like an open top, and they used to drive like the cabarets around and say, "Look who's here tonight," you know, make a big thing of it. And in those days they used to do 2 sit-ins, so they do an afternoon, like maybe 4:00 afternoon show, and then one at like 7-8 o'clock, same show but just to get more people in the theatre. And it was a proper theatre in those days, not like now they're like a big cabaret bar rather than a theatre style. And he was doing his cabaret, and I watched it in the afternoon, and I was like just in awe of this person who I remember just thinking, oh, he's just got on TV, you know, he's really good. And he still is to this day. I think he's a fantastic act. And I saw Brian on stage, and he did this routine, and then I went back to watch it again because I just loved the show. I wanted to watch it again just to see, because certain things went off as well, you know, the cod corpses sort of, and I was like, but in those days I didn't know what that was. So I went again to watch it thinking, oh, I wonder if you know, the broom will fall over, and then when I've discovered that happens in every show, I was like, because you genuinely believe it's the first time, and I was like, so that's what they do, and so that then I learnt all about like these little mistakes that I actually put into the show. But one of the mistakes, and I mentioned this to you before we started recording, that Brian did this routine where he'd play the piano and he'd see a lady in the audience, and then there was like a pre-recorded, it was almost like his thoughts, and he'd go, oh, she's gorgeous, while he's playing, and so you'd hear his thoughts, oh, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, oh, I'd love to take her out on a date. And that was in the afternoon, and then when I watched it on the night time, he played the piano and there was no thoughts, so I thought, hang on, he's not doing the little gag there. So I saw him afterwards when he was packing up, and I said, oh, hello, I really enjoyed your show, you know, I watched both of them. I said, how come the second show was different, because you didn't do that? He said, oh, basically the tape machine broke. So it just shows that even in those days, technology wasn't reliable as it is now. So again, it was just interesting to see that these people that are now like mega superstars, I was like literally as far away from you as I am, you know, this distance, just chatting away, and I was just in awe of Brian Conley. So that is where I am with all my history, if anyone's still listening now. Yeah.
So how did the Panto door?
So the Panto
let you
door.
through?
So I remember watching. I used to watch Blue Peter every, you know, at home getting back from school, and I remember every year Christopher Biggins would go on Blue Peter, and he'd do like a little. They'd say, "Oh, we've got Christopher Biggins, and he's going to be appearing in, you know, wherever, this year's Panto," and they'd do a big competition, and I remember entering it one year. I never won a badge, and you had to draw the dame's costume, and the winning costume got made, you know. So I remember sending that off and thinking, oh, I'd love to see Panto, and I this was another thing. I actually spoke to my mum and dad about this. I said, what was the first Panto we watched? And I remember, like I was saying, it was Roland Rat, and Button Moon was the first introduction to theatre. But I couldn't actually put my finger on the first Panto. It was like I'd lost some part in my brain, just didn't remember it. And then over a couple of hours, I've shortly remembered where I was. So the sort of introduction to the panto side, I joined an Amdram youth theatre, Pendle Hippodrome Youth Theatre, and we did like Bugsy Malone and Bye Bye Birdie, and the local theatre down there did panto. I never got a chance to see it, but I'd always see the posters, and I was like, oh, I'd love to do something like that. I'd love to go and see it. And then I remember when I was about 15, we were doing an Amdram version of Aladdin. It was called the Barnby Players because it was Barnoldswick, which is where I live, and Earby, which is like the next town, so they merged it and said Barnby Players. And it was Aladdin, and they needed someone to play Dame, and I was only probably 15, not even 16 at the time. And I think they just said to me, do you want to be in Panto? And I said, yeah. And they said, would you like to play Dame? I said, oh. I said, well, I'm really young. And they were like, oh, yeah, but because you do the magic and you're quite a cheeky chappy, we think you do it. So that was sort of my first taste of Dame as a Amdram style. And I just remember I only had one worker. I had a worker 1 for the first half and a worker 2. It was just made out of like curtain fabric because it was just whatever they could, make at the time. And it was a good little show. Sadly, this is before like you could get camcorders really easily and stuff, and way before mobile phones. So I've got no recording of it for myself. So that was my Amdram version of it. And then I remember when I started working I finished college and I'd gone to work for Haven Holidays in 1998 as a Haven mate. I used to do my own cabaret there every week as Magic Mark. And I used to see all the cabarets. And in the summer, we'd get like a summer panto, which was done in those days by Kudos. Again, I had no idea who or what they were, just knew it was a company. And the first panto that I actually saw was in at Haven that I could remember off my top of my head. And it was Pinocchio. And it was like an hour show in the cabaret bar sort of thing. And it was like 6 people, 6-hander. And it was great. It was just... because you went, wow, 6 people doing a full show, but condensing everything into like 1 hour. So we used to watch that every week with the kids and stuff, and I used to think, oh, I'd love to do this on stage. And I was already doing my Magic Mark show every week. And then they did, on the back of that, so we'd have the panto in the afternoon, and on the night time, we had another show, which again was produced by Kudos, called Haven Heroes. And it was basically... in those days, Gladiators was really big in TV, on the Saturday night TV. So it was sort of along the lines of that. They'd had these like heroes, if you will, that did like great acts. So you'd have one that was on the Rolling Globe, and that's when I first met Danny Adams and Clive Webb, and was just in awe of what they did because it was all silly slapstick stuff. I remember Danny was. I was 18 at the time, so he would be the same age as me, and he was doing the unicycle and did this full 15-minute routine with the juggling the knives and everything, and his dad, Clive, was just blowing stuff up, which he still does to this day. And I just sat there and I go, oh, this is amazing. And we became really good friends over time. And Danny said, oh, come and see us. We're doing Panto, And I never got to see him that year. And then I think it was 1999. They were in Wolverhampton, Jack and the Beanstalk. So I think I went to watch that. So that was my first proper Christmas Panto, if you will, that I remember watching big name celebrities and big full-on productions with a live band and just what you see Panto is today, the sort of the early starts. But yeah, I just, for some reason, I thought I'd seen Panto when I was like, I wanted to say like I was 8 years old and went and saw, Bradford, Alhambra, and saw such and such. But that was probably, I was probably a late starter for Panto, really. And then I remember seeing them in Cinderella in 2004 again. That was with Lisa Riley, and that was just great for me because I came from I wasn't doing Panto at that time, but I was still doing bits and bobs and me magic and doing the holiday parks and cabaret, and I just got so involved with them because I was friends with Danny. I became part of their family, their Panto family, even though I was only there for 2 days, and we'd all go out and have a meal, and they had a company meal, and I came along to that. And I remember quite clearly me and Lisa Riley dancing to the Grease Megamix, doing the whole "You're the one that I want," and it was just so bizarre, So that was sort of my early introduction to Panto, but quite late for me. When I listened to the Panto podcast and I listened to how early some people remember their Pantos, and I think it's because in those days Panto wasn't as big as it was. It was just, oh, it's just a Christmas thing, or it was just another show. And now it's like it's got its own full category. It's got its own awards. It's been sort of put on a pedestal along with all the other type of shows that we get, musicals and the likes. But I just love it. I love the whole feel of Panto. Even if it's not Panto, just working on a stage and entertaining people, it's just such a great buzz. It's probably the best drug you can get, just going on stage and making people laugh.
Was the magic then quite instrumental in helping you get into the actual pantomimes?
Well, it wasn't because I didn't start putting magic into my pantos up until a couple of years recently, because it was more about the comedy. And how I got my break into Panto, I was doing, in 2005, I was doing the Kudos Summer Panto. So we had a 15-week run, which was great in those days, 15 weeks up in Scotland. So we would do 5 Haven parks. We'd do like Haggerston, Berwick, Seaton Sands, Craig Tara, and the Lake District, Lakelands, I think it is. So we'd do those 5, and then we'd have 2 days off. And in 2005, we were doing Cinderella, so I played Buttons. And how I got the job is I'd done some work before working abroad, and one of the agents that was sort of casting for Kudos just phoned me up and said, oh, Kudos, again, who I'd heard this name again, but it didn't ring any bells. They're looking for some people for the Panto, for the summer tour. Would you be interested? Yeah, definitely. So they put my name forward. I went down to London and met John Conway, and literally just had a chat like we're now doing now. And I think he could see in my eyes that I was so like, this is what I want to do. This is, and we just chatted. We had a good laugh. I did a little bit of magic for him there, and he said, "Brilliant. Do you want to play Buttons?" I was like, oh wow, because Buttons is like a dream role for a lot of people. And it was this tour, and it was again a great little production. There's about 6 or 7 in it, and we used to tour it all around for the 15 weeks. And then the year after, I got asked back, said, would you like to play Buttons again for the Haven parks? But this year it's 30 weeks, so it was a whole season. This was, I think, before you could take your kids out of school anytime, you could just go on holiday whenever you wanted. So the holiday parks were really busy, and it was like every week was like a peak season because people just went on holiday when they wanted. In fact, I remember doing 2005, doing the pantomime, and it was when the smoking ban came in, and I think it started off in Scotland a little bit earlier than it did in England. And I remember, like, one week we turned up to a park and everyone was in the entertainment venue smoking, and you'd, like, finish and smell of smoke. And then the week later, literally, it was just this clean air smell. But then what you could smell was, like, the stale beer and all the, like, popcorn and whatever had been spilt on the floor. So it was a very weird going from this smoky smell to a non-smoky smell. I'm digressing a bit there. But, yeah, so I did 2 years for the summer, and when I did the 2005 one, on the back of that, so I was doing the summer tour, and I got a phone call saying UK Productions are looking for a comic. Can you send some stuff down? And again, this is probably before our computers were a really big thing, and mobile phones, and so I remember borrowing a camcorder, which was still the tape. It wasn't a memory card or a hard drive in those days. Borrowing someone's camcorder, recording a little snippet of the show, just the main bit, like my opening spot and the bit with Cinderella where we do like the ballroom scene to cheer her up. You put the 9-carat gold necklace on and the colander and stuff. And I recorded it all, and then I had to somehow get it onto VHS, because again, this was probably before like DVD. I remember getting my first CD was like in 2005. That's how my first CD collection started coming out. It was Dance Tip 95, if anyone's interested. Still got it to this day at home. But I put it onto VHS, and I had to send this cassette down to UK Productions for them to watch. I never went for an audition. So I just sent this tape down, thought nothing of it, and then literally a week later I got a phone call saying, "Oh, we got your little snippet, brilliant. We like what you do. Would you like to do Panto for us in Bath at the Theatre Royal?" And it was Mother Goose, and I was playing like it was either Simple Simon or Silly Billy, basically the comic in it. And so that was my first pro job in Panto, and I was like, wow, I've like, for me, I felt like I'd made the big time, because I was now in a proper theatre doing it in front of like 900 people every show, sold out shows, working with I remember I worked with Anne Charleston, who played Madge in Neighbours, and obviously growing up with Neighbours, I was like, I can't believe I'm like sat in the same room as Madge from Neighbours, and that was just it was such a big roller coaster, and I think such a lot to take in at the time as well, because growing up, I mean, I would have been 25 then, and the technology in those days was still nowhere near where we were, even like 15 years ago or however many years. Mobile phones were still, you couldn't go on the internet. You still basically, you could play Snake, which was, everyone had it, a Nokia 3210 or 5510. That was the best one to have with the monotone ringtones. So all this technology style, digital cameras were just coming out that were affordable. And I just wish I had more photos of the earlier stuff that I'd done. I have got photos, but they're all 35mm and the negatives. But I mean, nowadays you can just take 200 photos on anything, and everyone's got the capability. And if you haven't, someone else has. But I just really wish I'd had more stuff that I'd kept. I've kept all the programs and the posters and that, but just the memories of just going out for going out for lunch and having have a little snap of the beautiful surroundings or the theatre as well. I keep the press cuttings if I can, and the publicity photos that they print in the newspapers. But that was so that's sort of my first big break into Panto. The magic side did help, like I say, because I did a little bit in the audition, which got me the summer tour. And then off the back of that, I just got everything else, and I think it was one of those, I was in respects right place at the right time, like it so happens for a lot of people. So I did the Panto in 2005, and then I did Panto and then literally every year that year since then I've done Panto. So I did 2005 for UK, and then 2006, and then I did 4 years for Hiss and Boo. For the lovely Ian Liston, who's sadly no longer with us, and did 4 years for them, and then I've been with UK ever since 2012, and still going strong. In fact, it's my 10th Panto this year for UK production, so it's quite a nice little milestone for me. I know there's people on these podcasts, Billy Pearce, if you're listening, who's done 20 odd years, 20, I think it's his 21st this year at Bradford, coming up at the Alhambra. So for 10 years for me, I just thought, wow, that's a good achievement for me, if anything, because I never take anything for granted, because you never think, oh yeah, I'm set up here, I'm doing Panto for the rest of my life. You still got to work hard for it, and I try and better myself every year.
What was the transition like from going from the Haven Parks and the holiday parks through to theatre? Did you find much of a difference?
Yeah,
did it affect your nerves as well, or?
Yeah, because with the holiday parks, it's such a different environment, especially today, because the biggest thing is that there's alcohol involved. I'm not saying that's not with me, but with the guests. But in a theatre, yes, they do have a bar, but people go and have one drink. In a holiday park, people are ordering food. They're having 4 or 5 pints or a couple of cocktails. So the whole clientele was different, because they're on holiday, and if they want to chat, they can chat. If they want to watch, they can watch. Whereas in a theatre environment, people are there to watch. I mean, you do get it now and again, like especially now with the technology, people get on the mobile phones, and you'll see just like a light up now and again in the theatre of someone checking the phone or starting to film. But transition for me from the holiday parks to the theatre it is so different because there's so many different disciplines. From the holiday parks, to some degree, you're sort of busking it all the time because people can just shout out anything, or something can happen. You know, you might be doing it halfway through your show and the fight breaks out, or a baby starts crying, or you know, some kids lost their mum and dad. So there's a lot of factors involved. Whereas in the theatre, it's more of a controlled environment. I'm not saying that these sort of things can't happen because they could, but you're in a building, people are there to watch a show rather than, well, if I want to watch it, I'll watch it, and if I don't, I don't. So it is quite different. It was different for me going from the holiday parks to the theatre, learning even stupid stuff like I remember once saying, like, they'd say, "Oh, we're going to put the treads there," and because I didn't go to any like drama course, I'm just, what you see is what you get with me. I've just sort of learnt as I've gone along and watched other great comics and people that do panto and just learnt from them. And when I mean learn, I mean not nick their acts, but just you go, oh, I like that. That's a very good style. That's a great style. He's got great warmth. Watching the dames and see how because every dame's different, or an ugly sister, or the comic, or even the baron. Everyone has different qualities, and that's why panto's so diverse, because you get so many different people playing the same roles but at different theatres and different shows. So I sort of learnt as I was going along, and I remember someone saying, "Oh, we're going to put the treads over there," and I was like, oh, what's the treads? I didn't know what this word was, and I said, what are you on about, the treads? Oh, they want the steps, the steps. And so I learned, and for some people listening, you might be thinking that sounds stupid, but when you, from a non-theatre background, but for me, I wanted to learn all the time, and because I was quite technical as well, I used to love getting involved with the sound and lighting guys and having a little chat with them and say, "Oh, what lights have you got?" And they'd go, "Oh, I've got this, the D7 5000, I've got a Mac 250, and I've got some 700s, and we're going to do this." And you go, "Oh,
this means
wow."
nothing to a lot of people,
it's
but
just,
I get every single
it's
thing
just
you've
like
just
you
said.
love microphones, and so you were saying to me earlier on about the microphones, how you love microphones, and to someone else, it's just a microphone.
Boys in their toys,
yeah.
isn't it?
Well, I used to, growing up again, going back a bit, I used to do my own discos, and like I said, with the tape decks and stuff, and I used to get loads of lights, and my mum would say, "I don't know why you have so many lights, people aren't interested in that." And I was like, "But I'm putting on a show, it's not just playing loud music, it's the visual thing as well." And I still try and do that to this day, but she'd go, "People aren't interested in that." And I went to a disco once that my mum and dad were invited. It was like a wedding reunion, or like a wedding anniversary thing, and she was sort of right, because I went and the DJ just had like literally the rubbishest lights going, and no one cared because everyone was just drinking, they were dancing anyway. You could have just had nothing, just the music. But for me, I just think it's more about the visual, and it's the same with the panto. I think it's not just only the visual on stage, it's also what's in the show, the setup and the story and the plots. It all has, everything's got a part, even like the lights and sound, all adds to the atmosphere of a. I know that this sounds stupid, but I love when I do panto, if there's a mirror ball involved. For me, kids find that the most fascinating thing. You could have however many moving heads or pyros blowing up and exploding and flying dragons, but you put a mirror ball on with a follow spot or a pin spot on it, and they'll go, "Wow!" and you can hear it, and I love that. Every year we do panto, if there's a mirror ball, normally it goes on at the overture, and I'd be in my dressing room and they'd be playing the overture. And you'd at a certain point you could tell when the lighting cues just changed because the mirror ball's gone on, and you just hear 700-800 kids all go, "Wow!" If it's a school performance or if it's families, you'd still hear that "ooh," and I was like, "Yep, the mirror ball's gone on." So yeah.
What about their nerves? Was it very nervous that first time on the actual proper stage?
Yeah, it was really, because I was working with a very established panto performer, Chris Harris, no longer with us sadly, and he'd been at the Theatre Royal Bath for I think at least 2 or 3 years previously. So he was like the backed by popular demand, Theatre Royal Bath's own, Chris Harris. So I remember doing Panto with him, and he taught me so much, just about nerves, about getting over them, what to do. I mean, now I don't really get nervous. The only time I ever get nervous is if I'm probably doing some close-up stuff, because I just think on a stage you've got maybe, 5, 6, 7, 800 people, whatever, all watching you. So you just go, that's it. So just crack on with it. If I'm doing like a close-up for 4 people, I go, there's 4 people with their eyes, and they're literally, you can feel them burning on your hands, watching every move. Whereas when you've got a big audience, you just feel everyone's just watching the biggest picture, So nowadays I still get the flutter and stuff, but I don't get as nervous as I used to be. But when I first started, I used to. I think the first few shows, once you'd got that first show under your belt and it had all sort of gone right, or if there was a few teething problems, I'm a firm believer that if something goes wrong, don't make it obvious unless it's a funny thing like a prop falling to bits. I think in Panto, or especially when I'm doing my magic, if something's going wrong, the only person that knows what's going wrong is you and the tech people. The audience don't know. And if you take them on that journey, as long as you go, even if you go from A to B to C to D, as long as you get around that journey somehow and bring them back to where they need to be, they won't think anything's gone wrong. So I remember my first year in Panto, quite clearly. I was getting changed in the second half, and I had to get changed into we were doing like this band section, and I had a little trombone to play, just mime it. And I know that I used to have 5 or 6 minutes, so I'd take my time. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I remember Chris had jumped and skipped a whole scene, like just gone on early and missed a whole scene. So me and 2 of the other people that were involved, I can't think who it was at the time, we had literally had to run downstairs half sort of with the band costume on, with the instrument, thinking what's gone on, and we literally carried on the routine, and the audience didn't really know what's gone on. But afterwards it was just like, wow, that was mental, because I was literally in the dressing room listening to the relay, going, right, I'm just getting dressed, they've got this scene, and then I'm on in like 4 or 5 minutes, so I've got time, and then I just heard like a couple of cues, and I was like, oh, have I missed something? So I thought I'd like spent so long in the dressing room, right? So I went on, and I was really nervous, or like the nerves came back, because I didn't know where I was. I'd like, as if I'd had like a blackout or something. But yeah, nerves are a funny thing, because you can get nervous. I think you can get anxious rather than, sometimes you can be anxious instead of the nervous. For me, nervous is like twitchy hands and sort of sweaty palms and that. And for me, you can be anxious if that audience, are they going to be good? Are they going to be a good audience? And you'll have had this with a lot of other people that you talk to, saying like the demographics of an audience can be so varied. Like one day you're doing a school party, so you've got 900 children and like 20 teachers to control them all, so they just like laugh at everything, or they sometimes it's over laughed, they like go ha, and it's not a funny thing, but they just make it sound like it is, and some of the gags don't land right because they sort of go over the kids' heads, but then they laugh anyway because they think you do a funny action, and they just laugh at that. And then you'll do like an evening performance where it's more families, mixed adults, so you've got your grandmas, your granddads, your aunts, uncles, mums and dads, and the kids. Then you can do an afternoon performance, which is like the little kids that have come with the grandparents, or some people call them the Blue Rinse Brigade. Sometimes you get that. The Cotton Tops I've heard as well. I remember one comic saying, "Oh, it's lovely to see all the Cotton Tops in," and it took me a while to work out what they meant, and they just meant like the little white hairs, the heads of white hair, But yeah, so for me, I get more anxious on the, just listening to that first opening spot of the prologue, or whoever goes on before me, and you just go, oh yeah, they sound good, or they sound up for it. And then I think the nerves just go. And then once you're on stage, once you do the first minute, it's just you get it under your belt and away you go.
Adrenaline,
yeah. Adrenaline, and I mean that's what, like I say, for me, my two biggest passions are I love karaoke and I love panto, and that both things get me, and the magic, of course, but I love the adrenaline, and that for me is like the best drug in the world. Not that I've ever done any drugs, but I get the same effect just standing up quickly, But yeah, the adrenaline's it's just lovely to know that you're making so many people laugh, and they're laughing at the right things, not because I'm overweight and I'm fat and I look funny on stage, but they're laughing because what I am doing is funny rather than laughing at you. They're laughing with you rather than at you. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered that question correctly or not. Hopefully I have somewhere.
I think you have.
Yeah.
Well, you've talked about the highs. What about the lows? Do you find yourself with the panto blues?
Yeah, it's funny because I do my panto normally runs 3 or 4 weeks, so it's normally a 5-week run with the rehearsals, 5.5, 6 weeks at a push. So I normally finish like the first week in January, which is sort of like a standard for a lot of pantos, and then you've got like some of the big kudos ones like Birmingham, Bradford, Newcastle. So I end up I go and see as many pantos as I can while I'm still doing panto. So on my day off, I remember doing Mansfield panto, and they used to do a cod panto, and it was great. They used to sell tickets, and it was to raise money. And I remember they used to pick up on one of the things and I never thought of it like this. And one of the sections, he came on as it was Snow White, so they came on in the camping scene. He was like dressed as a scout, and he had his backpack on and sleeping bag and all these things, and they were like, "Why have you got your backpack on so early?" And it was like, and the guy playing sort of me, if you will, he said, "Oh well, you see, I'm going to watch 3 pantos tomorrow on my day off, and I need to get there a dead early." And it was so true, because I remember I'd come in on my day off, and they'd go, "Oh, did you have a good day off?" And I'd say, "Oh yeah, I loved it." "What did you do?" "Oh, I went and watched 3 pantos," and I did like that year, for example, I did like. One in the morning, I did like a 10 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, and a 7 o'clock, and I had to work out logistically where I could get to watch the show and have like half an hour drive, and get to another one and have another hour drive. And I still do that to this day, but I don't probably get to see 3. I'll probably see 2 on my day off. Or if we ever have a one-day show, like an afternoon, I'll go and try and see a nighttime. So I think average-wise, I go and see maybe, I would say, between 10 and 15 pantos during my performance and afterwards. Mainly, normally it's the ones afterwards that are longer running. I can't even remember what the question was now.
The question was about the panto blues.
Panto blues, yeah. So because I see all these pantos, that's right. I knew I was getting somewhere. I was going around the circle and I took the wrong turn in.
Fine.
So I go and see all these pantos, and then obviously when those pantos finish, it's like a massive high just gone, But because I'm pretty lucky with what I do for work-wise, because I obviously do panto at Christmas, I have a couple of weeks off, and then I'm normally working for a friend of mine out of the season. We do the technical side of stuff for the holiday parks and that. So for me, I don't really suffer. I know some people get really like, I really miss it. Yeah,
couple of days or whatever. Do you find yourself sort of going, "Oh, we're all families breaking up here"?
Yeah, I do miss it because, but I don't go home and sort of sit in a chair rocking myself, going, "Oh, the panto's finished." But for me, I do get. I remember 2015 was one of my favourite years. It was Aladdin in Bromley, because it was a long run. It was like a 5.5 week run plus rehearsals, and we had a great run, and everyone was just a team player. There was no like, "Oh, it's really awkward working with him or her." Everyone was just really in it for the show. And I remember on the last night, we did the speech, and I got quite teary on stage, like trying to fight it back, purely because these are my panto family, because I do have 2 families. I have my proper family, and I have a panto family, and I become, with the panto, I try and become like the concert secretary. The right, this week we're going to go bowling. Who wants to go tenpin bowling? Next week I'll say, right, we've got an early morning show and a 2 o'clock show. So does anyone want to go for a meal? And I'll organise a meal and get I've got a deal, and I'll organise a deal, and I'll organise that because I like to think that some people live locally. Some people are away. I'm always away from home. I never get home for Christmas, purely because, Malvern. I'm at Malvern again this year for my third year, and it's only about 3.5 hour drive maybe to go back home. But for me, I just can't. Not that I don't love my family, my mum and dad and my brother, but for me, I know that if we get snow, it's that problem of, can I get back home? Can I get back to the theatre? So I'd rather stay at the theatre, and I normally, like last year, I had my Christmas with a couple of the other cast and crew that was still there. But yeah, I try not to get too panto bluesy because I'm always active, and I think because I've seen so many other pantos, I think that sort of brings me down gradually, because then I go and see all the other ones, and then when I think like last year the Palladium was like the last one I saw, so I watched that, and then for me that's like, right, that's the panto season finished, let's put that away for this year, let's have a week's relaxing break somewhere, and then crack on with the rest of the season, and obviously getting back into the holiday parks. But I know some people do suffer really bad with the blues. Don't get me wrong, I do feel like, I can't believe it's only 1 week ago we were just doing, we're still on stage doing Cinderella or Aladdin or but yeah, I think it's just because I've done it so many years now. And I think the thing for me is the last 3 years I've done an Easter panto. So for me, if I do have a panto blues, I know that it come in a two and a bit months. I've got another 5-week tour of panto, so it's that reliving the whole panto system again. So I used to get really bad at it, but now I'm not too bad. It's more of a relief. You sort of done that 1.5 months of pantoing, 2 shows a day, work, and then you go and relax.
Have you made plenty of friends through panto?
Yeah, I have actually, and not just like celebrity ones that I keep in touch with. It's panto, I find, is a very, like in any entertainment industry, you can work with someone, like for example, I'll use Sue Pollard as a classic example. So the last time I worked with Sue was this year just gone, down in Malvern. We were in Snow White and she was playing the Wicked Queen. And the last time I'd worked with Sue was 2006, which again was Snow White, and she played Wicked Queen and I was Muddles. And I'd kept in touch, and I'd seen her in a couple of other shows. She did Shout the Musical, which was a fantastic role for her. I think she played I want to say a hairdresser. She was a hairdresser in this salon. And Miss Hannigan in... Annie, that's the one. His brain's not working this morning. I've not woke up fully. So I'd worked with her in 2006, and then we wouldn't see each other for like maybe a couple of years, and then I'd see her again, and it was literally like we'd only seen each other like last week. In fact, the other day I just messaged her, and she messaged back, and it was just like, it was only like we'd just finished panto the week before. You just carry on from where you left off, and that's what I think is so magical about this industry, entertainment in generally, not just panto, but any type of entertainment. If you make good friends, it stays with you for life, and you just carry on from from where you left off, and it just feels like you were just with them like the day before. I remember I hadn't seen one of my friends that I met on the ships, because I used to work for Brittany Ferries as well, so I've done quite a bit on there, doing my cabaret and the Ents manager role in the summer. And I remember working with a guy in 2009, and I hadn't seen him for nearly best part of like 8 years, and it was only like last year through Facebook that we got reconnected, and it literally just carried on from where we left off. Are you still doing this? Yeah. Are you still doing that? And it's just such a magical thing, because you don't feel awkward, but yeah, I've got some good friends that I know. I love working with Danny Harmer, not that I'm name dropping, but Tracy Beaker. I never saw Tracy Beaker, because it was sort of like my era of growing up was like the Grange Hills and the Quantum Leaps and Blue Peter, which I know is still going. But the Tracy Beaker sort of side of it, was sort of the couple of years
Next
after,
generation,
Next Generation, and I know that's such a big thing still, and so many people, and people go, wow, and I've done 3 Easter Pantos with Danny, and you know, we keep in touch whenever we can, and it's normally through an Instagram photo, or you know, I put something on. The other day I'd got again, I'm digressing, but it was quite funny. I got a rebate from Telefonica, which is O2, saying we overcharged you for a disconnection fee in 2003. 2013. So we owe you £3.49 with 4% interest. And they sent me a cheque the other day, 6 years later, saying sorry it's taken this long to get to you. And I was like, I thought it was a speeding fine at first, because it was a real proper, you know, envelope with the
Official,
official letter. So I took a picture of it and I put it on Instagram and on Twitter, and Danny liked it, and she put, and other people put comments and stuff, and it's just like stupid stuff like that you just keep in touch, and you go, oh, by the way, how are you keeping? You know, and again, for Facebook's a godsend for me, because I try and keep in touch with as many people as I can, but you know, people have busy lives, people are there, here, there and everywhere. So sometimes I end up just sending a text just to say, I hope you're well. I'm currently, you know, on tour at the moment. Where are you for Panto? I mean, it was the other day I was texting someone about Britain's Got Talent are just doing a Champions of Champions, and I know someone in it, and I just messaged them just to say how's things, you know, where are you for Panto, and we should meet up for a coffee. And again, we just had another full-on conversation. They were mega busy, I was mega busy, but we just stopped for 5 minutes just to put the world right and have like a proper catch up. So that was really nice. But yeah, I do. You make a lot of good friends. I try to be one of these people that is, if someone's got a problem or someone's not feeling well or someone's got an issue, you know, whether it's at home, you know, especially in Panto, I always say my door's always open. If anyone wants to come and chat or just hang out or whatever, don't think that you can't come, especially for a lot of the newer, you know, I remember this year just gone in Snow White, there was quite a lot of new people that had just finished drama school that were joining, whether they were dancers or in the show. And they were quite really nervous, and because it was their first pro thing, and I just thought, I remember being like that when I started, and I don't want them to have a bad experience. I want them to go, wow, I love this is what I want to do. So not that I had a bad experience, but I want their experience to be even better than mine, so that in future when they go somewhere, maybe in 10 years time, and someone else joins, maybe 20-year-old, you know, newbie out of drama college or school, they go, oh, I remember my first time, and they make it even bigger. So you know, it's like you carrying the torch to the baton, you know, a bit like the Olympic flame. So you just pass it on to people as you go. But yeah, I try not to get off, you know, on the wrong foot with anyone. I mean, sometimes you sort of question it and you go, oh, why are they like that, or why have they said that? And you just go, well, that's their opinion, let's just move on, you know. I have worked with some people that, you know, I've done the Panto, and then literally at the end of the Panto, that's it, I never see them again, because something didn't click, or not that I never fell out with them, but they've got their own way of working, or they're very solitary, you know. They for them it's just a money thing, you know. They're on the big money. It's a 5-week run. I'm just taking the money and going, you know. That's their view, and if that's what they want to do, I'm sure in a few years down the road they'll soon find that producers won't be casting them because they want, you know. For me, Panto's not just what the audience see. It's also about getting on with the team and the crew, you know. I think a lot of people often forget the crew work so many stupid hours, especially doing the get in and get out. And for them, I mean, I just now and again I'll buy a box of biscuits, you know, the old broken biscuit box, you know, a couple of quid, and I'll say, there you go, guys, that's for your coffee. And it's just that little token thing that puts a smile on their face, because they go, oh, right, see how many chocolate broken biscuits are in that one, you know. And they're not forgotten about, you know, because often a lot of people, you know, you'll do 2 shows and go, right, are we all going out for a meal? And it'll be the cast go out and the crew do their own thing. And I very much like, so I just open it up to everyone and I'll say, all right, we're going to go out we're going to go down to Spoons tonight. Other bars and restaurants are available. But we're going to go down to Spoons tonight just for a drink and some food. Anyone else want to come? It's open to anyone. And some of the crew say, oh, yeah, great, I'll come down. And I think it is a big, I mean, there's such a big family, you know, involved in it. It's not just them and us, which I have been to see some shows, and it does feel like that. It's like, we are the actors, we are better than you, and you're just the people that wear black uniforms and you know, not costumes, they're not costumes, but you know what they are
kind of a costume, aren't
yeah, they are a
really?
costume. It's a working costume, isn't it? It's their worker, all the blacks, you know, that's what we call it. Get your blacks on, you know. But I just think Panto is such a magical time, especially because it's obviously Christmas time, and some people are, like I say, away from home for a long time. So I just try and make it as memorable for them for all the good reasons, rather than them going, oh, I don't like it here, you know, it's you know, I hated it. So I try and make sure everyone's having a good time, basically. And 9 times out of 10, it's always a good time.
Were people there for you at the beginning? Was the door ever open for you?
Yeah, to some extent. It was quite interesting because I remember very very early on in the first few years of doing Panto, pro Panto at Christmas. I remember I was 1 year we would do the song sheet, and I had to do the song sheet with someone I'm not going to name. But I remember, and I didn't know this until like literally towards the end of the run, and it was only one of the dressers told me, who would dress the person, that we'd do the song sheet together. That person would go off to get changed because they had a big costume to get into, and mine was just like the usual, so like just pull your top off and put another top on and change your trousers, so it's quite easy. So I would do the song again, finish the song sheet, and I literally did what I was told, and I didn't put any jokes in or anything or any more thing. But it was only later in, like towards the end of the run, that one of the dressers, she say, you do realise that every time that person goes off, they sit and watch the monitor, because they used to get in some theatres you get you get a relay, so you just get the speaker. For those that don't really know much about theatre, you get the relay, so you get the show relay of what the audience hear, which is normally just a mic that's like hung in the auditorium, and it's basically what the audience hear. In some theatres, a lot of modern ones now, and some of the newer sort of redone ones, they have TVs, so you can watch. There's a fixed camera that not only the DSM sees, but you can see in your dressing room, so you can watch the show if you want to. It's not always like HD quality, but you can roughly see what's going on. And it was interesting that she said, oh yeah, when you're on stage, they run off, and while they're getting changed, they're literally glued to that screen watching to make sure I'm not doing anything different, because if I'd got a laugh for something, they wanted to know why I was getting a bigger laugh than them. And I just found that very bizarre, that because I didn't see it as a competition. I wasn't there to, well, I want to get a bigger laugh than you. I was just doing what, you know, the song sheet as is. But obviously, if working with kids, anything can happen. And again, going back to past Panto podcast recordings, there's so many people say, you never know what you're going to get with kids. You know, you can have kids that want to go for a wee. I've never had a kid that has cried on stage. I think because I'm such a cuddly little person, and I'm very kiddie looking, and quite I'm young. I look quite young on stage, and
well, you do.
I
You're
play,
youthful,
and I'm very like
just
stupid, and they can relate to that. So I always feel by the time the kid gets up on stage, they feel very secure and safe with me. That they know that I'm not a stranger, and they know that they can have a laugh, and I'm not gonna put them in any like danger or anything like that. So I'm quite good at reading kids, and even if I get a kid that's very shy and you think, is this kid gonna cry? Because that's the worst feeling, is having a kid cry on stage, because you just feel like you're like the worst, like you feel like you're worse than Abanazi, you know.
You could never be a baddie.
No, definitely couldn't be a baddie. I don't think I've got the deep enough voice. I'm very,
We'll go into that in a bit.
Yeah,
about
go
the
into the
voice
voice.
as
Yeah.
well, but yeah.
So I think like getting the kids up on stage. I'm quite a good reader of the kids, but yeah, got the early start of Panto. I did have. It wasn't a bad experience. I just thought it was very bizarre having this thing that they would do the same thing every show, knowing that I wouldn't change anything, or if I got a laugh, it's because the kids, I don't know, waving at their mum or dad or something. But I just thought it was fascinating that this person would run off stage to get changed, and while the dressers getting into a costume, this person would be watching the monitor, like glued to it, thinking, right, what's he doing? He better not do anything wrong. And I never knew any of that until one night, and I thought she was winding me up, the dresser. I said, are you joking? She went, no, really. Like, they would watch the monitor, and I was like, wow, that's... And I don't know if that's part of a little bit of jealousy, really. Insecurity, because, some of these people had been at theatres maybe 2 or 3 years as whatever. I came along as a newbie, and like I say, I wasn't there to step on anyone's shoes. I'm there to do my job, and that's what I try and do. And going just slightly off tangent, I always think with Panto, every show for me, I always try and outdo the last performance. I mean, there's only so much you can do, but you just go, right, I didn't get a laugh there, and it got a laugh the night before, so sometimes it's just the audience, they'll laugh at something and not laugh at another thing because it's the demographics, it's how many kids ratio to adults, but I would always try and better myself every show, and I would always try and make it look like this was the first time this has ever happened, because that's what the audience are going to see. If you've been doing there's nothing worse than going to watch a show that's been running for 4 weeks and that you go and watch it and everyone's just walking it because it's just like, well, it's 2 shows a day. We've done this 55 times already.
Let's just get it over.
Get it over and done with and go through the motions. I just think, no, you're there for a job. You're there to entertain. Let's crack on the energy. And there are some people that I've grown up with going, oh wow, I so admire that person, because you see him on telly and stuff. You go and watch him in the flesh, and then you go, oh well, they're not actually as good as what they look like on TV. They're just literally walking it, and you can just hear that big paycheck going to them at the end of the week, because they're a name, they're a big celebrity. And I just think, regardless if it's Panto or whatever job it is, you should always try and give 110%. I don't mean flog yourself to death, but because you've still got your health to look after, but you should be, just giving it your all.
Are you okay to talk about your health?
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, for anyone that's listening, a couple of years ago I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which, if anyone, it's normally that one that you say, I've got Crohn's, and they go, oh yeah, I've got a friend that's got that. You go, no, they've just got an upset stomach. There's so many different variations of it, Crohn's and colitis. So it was only a couple of years ago I was doing Panto, and I just finished Panto, and then I was doing my post-Panto sort of tour, as I call it, go and see as many as I can. And all of a sudden, it's that usual thing of, is it just because you've been taking the vitamins and the tablets to get you through Panto, because that's the worst thing, is to ever be ill in a Panto run. And I was like just working, and then gradually my body was just basically felt run down. I had like sickness and the diarrhea, and I just thought, have I picked something up now? But because I've been going, I've not had time to develop it. So I ended up going to the doctors, and they said, oh yeah, you've got gastroenteritis, just here's some tablets, here's the thing, tick the boxes, you've been seen within 4 hours, off you go. And I took it all, and a couple of days later I was getting worse and worse. And in the end, I had to go to A&E because I was in that much pain, like literally doubled over with stomach cramps. And they did an X-ray, and they did some tests, and they said, we think you've got Crohn's disease, and this is like the big start of it. And because I'd sort of had the Imodium, and that bunged me up without being graphic. They said on the X-ray, you're that full, there's nowhere for anything to go. So you just, and because I'd got the intestinal tract was inflamed, that inflammation was just getting so angry. The best way to describe it is if you imagine if anyone's ever had appendicitis or a twinge in their appendix, but imagine that just getting worse and worse and worse, up to the point where it's just going to pop. That was a bit like with me with my intestines. And obviously because years ago I was working in Lanzarote and I actually had a perforated bowel which just came on out of nowhere. I was fine all day and then literally ended up in A&E, and they said to me if I hadn't been in hospital if I'd been in hospital 2 hours later I'd have been dead, because I had septicemia kicked in and everything. So we don't even know if that was the start of it back in 2003. Could that have been the early signs of it and it's just stayed dormant? But yeah, I mean, I try not to let it faze me. Some days I go on and do I'm working even if it's in the summer and I have bad days with the Crohn's. It can just come on out of nothing, and it's nothing that I eat. I think it's lots of things can trigger it. It could be sort of stress or not that you're stressed yourself, but your body's stressed, maybe from not sleeping enough or just gone out for a long walk or something. Sometimes it is food that triggers it off. Not that I know, all right, if I eat sweet corn, that triggers it off. It's just hit and miss. So I try not to let it put me off. Because again, going back to the Magic, I went to the Magic convention, the big one at Blackpool, and Dynamo was there, and it was great because he had like this entourage of security people, and you could only have a photo and a quick handshake. And I said, I really appreciate you opening up about you having Crohn's, because the press had picked up that he'd got what they call moon face, where your body swells because of the steroids and stuff that they give you to combat the Crohn's. And he came out saying, no, I'm not just put weight on because I'm eating junk food and stuff, I've got Crohn's. And we had this good 10-minute conversation. There was still a queue of people wanting photos, and he just said to the guys, just wait, let them wait. And he said, I know what you're going through. He said, have you tried this? Ask your doctor to try this on your blah, blah, blah. Because he had the same thing, and he's still got it to this day. We had this good little conversation about it all, and it was just so nice to have someone in that limelight who had the same thing as me. But yeah, I try not to let it affect me. It's like anything. It's like I have good days and bad days. But if I have a bad day on Panto, you can't tell. If anything, I try and make it that day an even better day, because I feel if I come off, that adrenaline will hopefully kick off the pain and the all the side effects that I get from the sort of having a flare up. And it's not nice. It's a lot of the, again, I don't want to be graphic, but if anyone doesn't know, sometimes if you need the toilet, you have to go. You can't just hold it in. You just say, right, I need to go. And that's a bit hard when you're mid-flow in a scene,
Or a song sheet.
Yeah, song sheet, yeah.
Sorry, kids.
Yeah. If I was not upon the stage, a toilet I would be, This would be my song. You'd hear it all day long, So that, I mean, touching on the health thing, because I know this is a question you've asked quite a lot, is how do you cope with trying not to be ill, because the 9 times out of 10 in a panto, someone's going to get the dreaded lurgy. There's bugs, especially because there's always the kids as well. I'm not saying kids are the breeders, but yeah, but
they are.
But you've got a lot of kids that are in the shows, and they're obviously all in one room. So if one person's got it, it spreads very quickly. I'm very lucky, touch wood, that I've not really been ill on that side effect side of things. The only time I ever had a real bad time was I was in Newport 2009, and it was Aladdin, and I was playing Wishy Washy, and it was Boxing Day, so I'd had Christmas Day off, and my mum and dad had come down to see me, and it was Boxing Day, and I literally had like the worst sort of food poisoning symptoms, if you will.
Ooh.
And I don't think it was actual food poisoning, but it was the sickness, diarrhea, and again it could have been something to do with this Crohn's, but many years down the line. But literally I was just like, it was liquid out of everything coming out. Again, I didn't want to be graphic, but
Yes.
it was just the
Sorry
worst.
if you're eating your lunch,
yeah.
by the way.
Maybe you'll have to put an advisory on this, or just edit that out.
No.
But no, it was the worst sort of tummy bug, if you imagine, cramps, everything. And I remember they said, yeah, we'll give you some, tablets. And I just went in on Boxing Day and I told the company manager, I said, look, I'm going on. I said, I feel absolute crap, literally, in both senses. But I don't want to. I want to go on, but can you just put in each wing? I want a little area cordoned off. I want a bucket. I want some water, and a towel in each wing, and just tell everyone not to come up near me, not to touch me. I had a hand sanitizer pump, so every time I was on stage, I'd make sure I was cleaning my hands. Because the worst thing is someone come up and go, "Are you all right? How are you feeling?" And you go, "I'm not very good. Just leave me alone." And I literally did the show, and I remember I was being sick in the wings, and I literally heard the cue. I was sick in the wings. I had a swallow of water, wiped my face, sanitised my hands. Literally went and I was like, "Hello everyone," did it, and did the whole routine. See you later on. Bye. Went off sick again, and that's how I did the 2 shows that day. But that was my choice, and it's because from experience, only 4 weeks ago I absolutely knackered my ankle in. I went over on my ankle, for those listening. I came off a stage, went into I was on tour at the moment with the circus, and we were in a field, went into a divot, went over on my ankle and went to A&E, and I've fractured my ankle. They said I had to have 6 weeks off, but the next day I had a gig, and I didn't want to let them down because I'm an old pro, even though I'm young. I feel like I'm an old school pro. I just believe if unless they said to me, if you go on stage you will die, then that's a different ball game. But if everyone's happy for me to just say, like, this is what I need, make sure no one can do this, make sure no one is touching me, I've got hand sanitizer, so I'm not passing on the germs, because that's what I don't want to do, is pass on the germs. I mean, it'd be different if I had like a norovirus, then that's a no-no. But everyone was happy to, and the reason being is because with Panto, it's very rarely that you get an understudy, or you do get an understudy, but they never get a chance to rehearse. And because you're the comic, you put your own gags in, so they go, "Oh, if I'm your understudy, I just need your opening spot," and I'll just go, "Just do what's in the script, don't do my stuff. Just learn the script stuff. It's a lot easier for you." Or just go on and just say, "Hi, I'm whatever." But I just feel I could never put someone through that, because that's just probably the worst thing for them to ever do. I mean, yeah, it's great for them. They might think, "Oh yes, my first time at being a comic," but on the other side, they probably only get a day to rehearse if they're lucky. So I just think, just crack on with it, get on with it. Tomorrow's another day. It's only eight hours of your life today that you've just got to suffer, and get on with it. And that's what I do. And again, touch wood. Apart from my Crohn's flare-ups now and again, which I'm quite good at managing, I just get on and do it.
The voice thing.
Yeah, it's weird because it all came from doing. I don't really know. I can't say, well, it's a mix of this, and this. It was just something, because I always hate my voice. Like, if I listen to this back, I'll be like, "Oh, do I really sound like that?" Because I feel like I sound really high octane, like on helium. So the voice came from doing the summer season as Buttons, and I always think Buttons. I believe someone said in one of your past Panto podcasts, Buttons should be buttonsy, or the character should be a bit. The character needs to be buttonsy, and I just think, what is buttonsy? And I just think, like, that sort of, because I'm quite chubby. I'm, as I like to say, I'm built for comfort, not for speed. I was like, what can I be? What can I be? Because you look at like Brian Connolly, and it's like, "All right, Cinders," that sort of London, like, geezery, which is great, and it suits him down to the ground. And I see others, and you go, that's a great, the way they do it. So the voice came about just because I just was messing around, and I was like, "Oh," and I think I just started going, "Hello, Cinders," and it was almost like George Formby-ish. And because I'm sort of from that area, Lancashire way.
Turned out nice again.
Yeah, turned out nice again. And I think again, going back to what we were saying earlier about, my character's very childish and it is very lovable. The adults love it even more than the kids sometimes. And the funniest thing is when the kids come up to me afterwards, and because I always go out at the end of the show and have photos with everyone, and some of the kids will say, "Do you really talk like that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they'll say, "Do you really talk like that?" I go, "Yeah, that's my real voice. Is that your real voice?" Oh, that's really funny, So, and probably someone's listening to that going, "Well, there's no difference between what he just said then and what putting that little voice on." But when I'm in the proper role and I'm in the costume, I think the costume helps as well. You know, when you get that costume on, because that's part of you as well. It's just lovable to see all these people thinking that is your voice. And even to this day, if I'm out shopping and one of the kids sees me, or the family gone shopping and they're in Tesco's or Aldi, or Waitrose, if you've got the money, they'll say, "Oh, Mum, that's Silly Billy or Wishy Washy," and they'll say, "Hi, Wishy Washy," and I go, "Hello, you all right?" And I put the voice on because I don't want to shatter the illusion of Panto. There's nothing worse.
Thespian,
Yeah. There's nothing worse than for me is like seeing someone and then they've got like this real deep voice or something, and then you see them on stage and it's like the opposite to how they talk. So yeah, the voice just came about from sort of messing around. I think I was sat in the car just chatting to myself, doing voices and going, "Oh, ew." And this sort of, I thought, well, just try it up there, and because there's not a lot of people that talk quite high up, I just was like, well, it'd be different from doing like the geezery, like, "Oh, it's Cinders," So that's how it sort of developed, and it sticks with me every time. And it's quite funny you say about the voice, because I did a Easter Panto. It was the first one I did of the Easter Pantos, and we were playing. It was Robin Hood, so I was playing Friar Tuck. So I remember in the read through, I was like, "Oh, hello, I'm Friar Tuck," and I was like this like stupid like almost Lancashire Yorkshire, "Hey." And I read it through, and I said, "Everything all right?" And they said, "Oh yeah, yeah, great." I said, but I knew there was something wrong, and I said, "What's the matter?" They said, "Well, I was hoping you'd do your voice," and I wanted to do something different. I just didn't want to be like this pigeon-doled stereo, which doesn't bother me because that's what I do, and that's probably why I get booked every year, because it's that lovable character. So I said, "Oh, I just wanted to try and be something different." So in the end, I was like, "Hello, I'm Friar Tuck, and as you can see, I'm a man touching cloth," and it was great because the call and response for that was, "Every time I see you, I'm going to say, 'Hey up, me chippy chips,' and I want you to all shout back, 'Hey up, me deep fat fryer,'" which it was stupid because you go, how many people can use that catchphrase? Because one, you've got to be overweight and you've got to be Friar Tuck, but it was just something. We were messing around, and I was like, "Oh, what about doing this as a catchphrase?" And I did it in the voice, and they were like, "Yes." So that's where the voice came, and I tried to be different one year in the Easter Panto. And do you know what? Looking back, I probably think it was the right decision, because it makes the Friar the lovable character, which is the comic, and because Robin Hood's sort of not your traditional Panto, it makes it more fun then as well. So yeah, that's sort of where the voice came. It wasn't I don't think I've taken any inspiration or any ideas from other people, but I probably have down. When I was a kid growing up, and you look at stuff, and like I say, George Formby and the likes, and Joe Pasquale, but you don't think when you're doing your voice, am I imitating someone else? You think this is a whole new thing. It's like we were talking about the magic or jokes. You can watch a comic or someone do something and go, "That is a great routine, but that would be better if they did this, this and this." So you can take the concept or the idea. In my cabaret act, I do a full-on Rubik's Cube routine, and it's probably 4 or 5 different things. One's from a lecture I saw years ago, and I thought that was a great concept, and I've taken the concept from that, put my own little bit on it, and taken a concept from a kid's colouring book. I use the sort of principle from a colouring book thing, and made my whole routine out of it. And I don't think someone could say, "Well, that's my routine," because there's nothing worse than just taking someone's act and doing the whole same thing, word for word or whatever, which we know it happens and that. But I think if you can take the concept and put your own spin on it, that is different, you know, because all right, you're not creating something brand new, but you're creating a newer version of like the Mark II or the Mark III version of whatever, you know, like going back to If I Was Not Upon the Stage, and these are all ones that have been done to death years and years ago, and then only a couple of years ago, again, I think it was Kudos, other panto companies are available, that brought this back round, you know, from tradition, and the wall, you know, the wall, and it's just all these old routines have just had a new lick of paint and a new lease of life, and they've brought back in, and everyone thinks, oh, this is brilliant, this is a brand new thing. You know, there's all these routines where they do a routine either with cheese or chocolate or board games or DVDs or records. So it's the same concept, but it's just the different things, you know, different, you know, I know there was one last year that was done with flags. I think Matt Slack, in fact, did it. Great routine. But it all comes down from that, you know, that sort of, where did it start? You know, was it the dialogue about chocolate bars, or was it the cheeses, different cheeses? The Palladium, they did the subway, or the tube stations. So that idea can make, you know, you can have one idea and have like 20 branches come off from that idea, but they all come back down to that same, somewhere it started somewhere. So that's where the voice came, and sort of how I imagined how it came about, I assume.
Would you ever like to try serious acting?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's funny you said that. I remember one of my directors years ago said to me when I was doing in my early years of Panto, they said, "Do you know what, Mark? I think the problem with you is that you were born 20 years too late." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, if you'd have probably been 20 years earlier, because of my style and you know the way I am and what I do, I might have had a shot." It's that if, why, how, but, could, you know, right place, right time. You know, I could have been sort of in that. I mean, I grew up, you know, again with like the Cannon and Balls and the Grumbleweeds and the Bobby Davros and the Billy Pierces and Mick Miller's, all that sort of old school comics. And when I say old school, that was the only school of comic there was. It wasn't this alternative comedy stuff that's going on now. But I used to love watching Saturday night TV and seeing all these comics and people on. And I think that's what they meant, is like, you know, if I'd have been born a little bit earlier, I might have had a shot. It's hard to say though, isn't it? I mean, if you know, being born 10, 20 years earlier, could you have been a little bit more famous or whatever than you were? But yeah, it's a hard one really. But I would love to do some serious acting. I don't think I'd have the voice, you know. I don't think I'd be doing the squeaky voice on it. But yeah, I wouldn't say no. I'm just trying to think if I've ever done anything. I mean, to be fair, being a magician, you are an actor. You're putting on this show, aren't you? You're pretending to be this amazing wizard in essence. That's what a magician, for me, that's what a magician is. So for me, when I'm doing my cabaret, I am doing a serious acting role, really. Because I don't put a voice on, I become this magician sort of thing. But yeah, I would never say no to it. And hopefully next year, I'm just in talks with some people, and some things might come off. So watch this space. It's never guaranteed. I mean, that's this is why I did Britain's Got Talent. It wasn't because I wanted to, you know, I thought it was a fantastic act, and you know, this half man. How that all came about is I was doing karaoke, and someone said, "Oh, can you do such and such a song?" And this Rennie and Renata, Save Your Love. I thought, well, I'll just do both voices because there was no one to sing it with me. I did both voices, and they just said, "Do you know what? That's amazing. It's great." And I thought, well, is it really? And at the time, it was the third season of Britain's Got Talent, and I looked at it and I thought, well, no one's done it on the show. I know you've had like Tommy Cooper did one with the army officer. So I wasn't claiming that I've invented this fantastic new concept. All I was looking at is what hasn't been done on Britain's Got Talent, or hasn't been done for a lot of years that no one's seen for a while. And I thought, well, if I go on, I'll just go on. And literally, I got the letter to say, you know, we want you on the show. And I was saying to my mum, well, I need to like literally make a costume up because they don't give you much notice. And so I had literally a week to make this costume. We went down for the first round to meet the producers and stuff. And they said, oh, we'll let you know, January. Well, they said February, but it was actually December when they let me know. And they said, yeah, we love it. We love the idea. And I said, oh, great. I'll have a proper costume made. I was going to get one of the Panto wardrobe guys to make it all for me. And they said, oh no, don't change anything, that's what we liked. And that's when I sort of realised they already know what they want to do with you, because I wanted to get a new costume made, the whole white suit and real proper. I mean, this was something that we threw together in 3 hours, and I just remember shouting at Mum going, Mum, it's fine, it'll do, that's all we need, it's just to give them an idea. And it was I went to the charity shop and just went, that dress, if we cut it in half, I can fit into that, and that jacket, I only need half a jacket, so I can fit into that. It wasn't even in my size, and it was just all bunged together. We did the show, obviously, and then they said, oh, don't change anything, so I kept the same costume and did the shows. And the reason why I did it really was because I suppose I wanted 15 minutes of fame, if you will. I just thought, well, I do Panto every year. I'm on good money. Maybe if I do Britain's Got Talent, then I've got a bit of a, because nowadays it's all about from Big Brother, from Love Island, from, whatever. And I just thought it'd be great to have, Mark James from Britain's Got Talent. And to be fair, even when I did that year's thing, I never had it on the poster. I never had the big branding, But obviously the money went up, which was a good thing, so I can't say it was a negative thing. But yeah, I just looked at it was just a thing because people said to me, "Well, why didn't you go on and do magic?" And I thought in that day, the third and fourth season, magic was just getting such a hard time. And for those people that don't really know how it all works, you've got so few minutes to get across what you're doing. Sometimes you need that 2 or 3 minutes to set up the character, to set up the story, to set up whatever you're going to do. And if you don't do that, it's just going to die on its bum, And I just felt like this was the easiest thing to go on, say hello, blah 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 blah, do my song and do the half man. They get it. And if you watch the edit, if you watch the on YouTube, if you watch the link of the Britain's Got Talent one, the actual song's being edited, it's almost like singing Happy Birthday. So you go, Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you. The middle bit's missing on the edit. It doesn't make sense. If you listen to the song, it's not the whole song. And that is the essence of, that's how it's so heavily edited. But yeah, I only did it really just to sort of boost my Panto profile and just to sort of hopefully get a little bit more, a little bit more fame. Not that I want to be like mega superstar famous, but I just think it's nice for people to say, oh, yeah, we saw you on the Saturday night show, or oh yeah, we've seen you on, I don't know, CBBC or something, that the kids can relate to. And because I always obviously play the kids role, the kids' favourite character, I just think it's also nice that they get to see that, that they go, oh yeah, we've seen him on TV, yeah, he's really funny, or oh, we like him, he's got a funny voice.
Gives you that glow then.
Yeah,
the kids
yeah.
see you as well, like the kid in the supermarket, you said. And stuff
I mean, this is why it's taken a long time for me, and I think this is the way Panto's going, because and again, going back to other Panto podcasts, so many people say Panto's evolving, and it has to evolve, which is also always a good thing. I don't think it's ever a bad thing. And as long as we know where the roots are, and we keep those in, even if it's only in a little split, a little phrase or whatever, it's still there, But I love the fact that, I'm now back at Malvern for my third year. So I've always done like 1 year here, and then I go somewhere else, and I go somewhere else. I think sometimes I get put like further away from home because I've got no kids, and like, oh, it's all right, he doesn't go home for Christmas. We can put him a 7-hour drive from home. He'll be fine. So I'm back at Malvern again for my third year. Lovely theatre, lovely team down there as well, and I'm hoping that that's going to be my home for many more years to come. There's quite a few titles that we haven't done, or I haven't done there. So like Jack and the Beanstalk, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty are just 3 other ones. Beauty and the Beast. So there's some, hopefully at least another 3 or 4 years. and it's worked really well down there as well, because I've been the first comic that they've had back by popular demand. They've had comics that have done a year, had three or 2 or 3 years away and then come back. But I think from what I've known in the past, I'm the first to be like at least definitely third year back. And I also believe that the families like it as well, because they know, for them it means that the show's not as hard to sell. Because they go, oh, we saw him last year, he was really good in that, so we know what we're getting, we know the brand. That's sort of like, if you will, the brand. It's a bit like Danny Adams and Clive Webb at Newcastle. People go because they know what they're going to get. They've seen it year in, year out, and they know that that's the brand for Newcastle. Birmingham, you've got the fantastic Matt Slack, Billy Pearce at Alhambra, you know, you've got so many people. Steve Royal at Blackpool, been there over 10 years. People love it because they I think as long as you keep one person and change everything else, it's a whole new show. And what I love about it, and I said this earlier, but I go out at the end and say goodbye, and normally people have photos. And what I found fascinating is that the families get their phones and go, oh, we saw you last year, this is the picture from last year, and you've got like mum, dad and the 2 kids, and then this year the kids have like grown like a foot, you know. So I say to them, right, everyone get in position, and we get mum and dad and the kids in the same position as we did last year. So in theory, every year they'll have the same picture, but that everyone's grown up or put weight on or lost hair or whatever, and it's just a nice little memorabilia, you know, memory for them. But I love stuff like that. So going out and seeing that, and I'm so grateful that Martin Dodd at UK Productions has sort of, and the theatre have gone, let's do this, you know, because I think sort of gone are the days of you need 5, 6 big name stars. I think if you've got a good product and you've got a good show, the name should carry itself, you know, and that's true for me to say at Malvern. It is a good production, it's a great show. The people that go there, they come in, you know, I've been coming 20 years and I've got to say this is the best show I've seen, you know, and then this year they'll say I've been coming 21 years and this is the best show. So I don't think I've ever had anyone say, we saw you last year and thought last year was better than this year. It's always, this is the best show ever. And you go, well, actually last year I think was better, but for them, because it's fresh in their minds and they probably can't remember last year's show that well, it's obviously going to be their favourite. I with the acting side and everything, I'm in a happy place. I think I'm always busy, and I'm grateful that I'm not only a performer on stage. I do the technical stuff backstage as well, which a lot of people don't do, which is fine because they just do that front stage. But I think that's great for me because it means I'm never going to be out of work, because even if I wasn't doing a show or something, I can always do 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I always say I'm a bit like Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap. You know, I'm trying to make things work that once, you know, put things right that once went wrong, you know. I keep saying you know as well. I've just picked up on that. I should have a tally of how many times I say it.
Play a drinking game.
Yeah, every time I say you know. That might be my phrase for Panto.
You know.
You know. Hello, you know.
Song sheets.
Song sheets, yes.
Where do you get your ideas from?
Normally, there's always the, like, what's popular at the moment. So, for example, last year was Baby Shark was the big thing. And I knew everyone was going to do it, but you just got to say it's such a big thing. You can't. It's got to be in the Panto somewhere.
You've got to embrace it.
Yeah,
that's it, yeah.
And that's the logical thing for it to go into. This year, I'm doing. Well, the concept is I'm doing the song "Old MacDonald Had a Farm," but I'm rewrote the lyrics to make it more sense for Widow Twanky and Wishy Washy. So that's quite funny. But yeah, it's just looking at what's topical. I mean, it's if you look at like toys for example. I remember when Tamagotchis came out, there was always in the Panto there was something to put Tamagotchis in. I can't think what they were called. They look like little gremlin mogwai things. Furbies. So like Furbies, they were like, you know.
Can't tell I'm a dad, can you?
No, yeah. They're Furbies, and then I think a couple of years ago, the big thing was these little monkey things or something.
Oh, I don't know.
Some like little. Anyway, but there's always something that's like this year's Christmas craze or present or song, and it's again with song sheets. There's normally, if I look at the past sort of 4 or 5 years. You had like Gangnam Style, so that was one. Who Let the Fox Out? You know, there's another song sheet. Pen, Pineapple, Apple, Pen. What a mental, crazy song that was. But again, if you look at it and break it down and go, how can I make this work as a song sheet? It works. The Crazy Frog. I'm just trying to think what other ones have come out. Like I say, the Baby Shark. So there are them. I mean, there's the traditional ones as well. But I always try and be sort of different to just doing the usual. You know, I'll be coming around the mountain or whatever. The Worm at the Bottom of the Garden. Again, it's a classic song. I remember doing Jack and the Beanstalk one year, and the song sheet originally was that why does a brown cow eat green grass when it only makes white milk? And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that one. So I ended up, I think that year the Fox song was popular, so I put the Fox song in, and it worked great. So it's just looking at what trends. It's just seeing what's big on YouTube, what the kids know, and sometimes it's always it's not a case of let's put it in as a song sheet, but you might go, all right, that's a big trend at the moment, like Fortnite, for example. You can't do a song sheet about Fortnite, or maybe you can, but you can put a couple of the moves in, and the kids will know what you're doing straight away. You can do the flossing and there's this like scary monster, I call it, this one. But you do it, and guaranteed all the kids will know what you're on about. I remember doing Pen, Pineapple, Apple, Pen. And if you've not seen it, just put in Pen, Pineapple, Apple, Pen on YouTube. It's the weirdest video song ever. And I used to do it, and the adults would have no idea what was going on. It's like
your code with the kids.
Yeah, but the kids would go absolutely crazy for it. They'd be like, because they know it. And I used to make a joke after I'd do the song, and then I'd say, and I'd look at the audience and the adults, and I'd go, "You have no idea what's just gone on, then, do you?" and I said, "If you don't know, go on YouTube, have a look at it." And the kids would be going, "I have a pen, I have an apple," you know, and they'd love it. And I do this song sheet. So that's where I get sort of inspiration, or I look at stuff, and again, looking at other pantos, and you go, "Oh, they might have done it as a song between Buttons and Cinderella," and you go, "Oh, that'd make a nice song sheet," you know, or I could take that idea and make it into a song sheet. So it's just seeing what's out there and trying to be a trendsetter. You can't see that, can you? But I was doing like the hip like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, like boom. Yeah.
What about then the chemistry with kids when you're getting them up?
Yeah. Again, this goes back to trying to read the kids. I always try and say to the stewards or the ushers, can you make sure can I have 2 boys and 2 girls, just because it's nice matching, and I always try and get one that's like a little young one, because you can normally get a good. I'm very fond of not putting any kids down. I just think there's nothing worse than seeing a comic or making a joke because of the way they look or whatever. You'll have probably seen this many years ago with children's entertainers go, "Put your hand out." No, the clean one. And I remember someone telling a story of like a kid had put their hand out, and they had like a deformed hand, and so they put their good hand out, and the guy went, "No, put your clean hand out." And they obviously then put this one out, and they were really nervous because it was like obviously a bit like Jeremy Beadle's hand, you know, they like deformed. So they obviously put their good hand out, thinking, because they didn't want to put this out. So that always is in the back of my head of, don't do stuff like that, because it's just not nice. And you never know with kids what if they have got a disability or anything, or they maybe ADHD. Or I remember I did have one kid that was literally very hyperactive on stage, and I suppose it's overwhelming of the light, because when you're sat down you don't see the lights really, you know they're on, but when you're on stage and you can't see anything because it's so bright, and you can see people in the wings moving stuff because they're setting up for their walk down, and you know, if you've got Shetland ponies, there might be ponies in the wing, and there's someone setting a pyro ready, and they're like, it's a fascinating world because they don't see it, and they're just like this all the time. And I remember one kid like was so oblivious to the pits where the band were, they literally were going to fall into the pit because it was like, for them, it was like there was no, it's as if there was like a glass cover on the top. So they were like, wow, this is amazing. And they're just like all over the place. And I was like, kept having to like pull them back, just stand there and that's it. Just stand there next to her. Don't go any further forward, And so, just reading the kids, it can be hard, And I've had so many different sort of varied kids as well. I've had kids, like I say, that feel like they're hyperactive. I've had like a Down syndrome, which again, it's pure magic because they just embrace it. It's for them. It was the hardest thing for me was trying to work out what their name was. This young lad, he was great at what he did. I think we were doing the Music Man, and he had to play this big drum, and he loved it. Just did it perfectly. But when I said, "Oh, hiya, what's your name?" and he sort of mumbled, and I really tried to listen to the phonetics of it, and I was like, "Oh, Michael." He was like, "No," and he said it again, and I was like, "Mitchell," because it sounded, Michael Mitchell, and I was like, "No," and it was something like, I don't know exactly, but say for example, John. And you go, I would never have got John from that, and it comes to a point that I was, and hopefully other people can relate to this, that you think, right, I'm not going to keep asking because I don't want then to draw attention to the fact that he can't talk that very well. So I luckily, I think his mum or someone in the audience shout out, "Oh, his name's John," or Frank, whatever. And then, but I still had a conversation with him. I said, "You excited for Christmas?" "Yeah," and just moved on. But for that split second, I was like, "Oh, don't," you just have to sort of think, it's just a child, but he was brilliant. And we had and I remember him coming backstage afterwards. I came in front of house to have the photos taken, and he came up, and because he had his little goodie bag with him, and I said, "Oh, you were brilliant," and because I remembered his name, I was like, "John, isn't it?" But I went, "Oh, it's Michael, isn't it?" He was like, "No," I was like, "No, it's John, isn't it?" I was John, I'm only joking. And we had this photo, and it was great, and his mum and dad and his family said, "Oh, we really appreciate what you did," because there's always this stigma of when people have got any disabilities that it's either drawn to, or you make fun of it, or because it gets a laugh, or I've seen it done to death. When I was growing up, when some people would, someone had a disability or whatever. I think the only one I sort of do as a joke on myself is if I get someone's name wrong. So if they say, "What's your name?" and they say like Susan, and I'll say Sharon, because you've not quite heard it, and they go, "No, Susan," and I'll say, "Oh, sorry about that, I'm a little bit deaf in my right eye." Now, I don't think that offends anyone. I'm not offending any deaf people because I'm making the fun that, because you go, "Well, how can you be deaf in your right eye?" It'd be different if I went, "Sorry, I'm a little bit deaf in my right ear," but I just think, because making a joke of the misheard thing, the kids love it because they laugh because they know, how can you be deaf in your right eye?
Someone will be offended.
Oh yeah, someone will be.
Offended.
It'll be someone who'll be sort of partially blind and sort of partially deaf or something.
You can't say that.
But I can't say that. Yeah, but I don't mean to. And I've said this when I do cabaret sometimes. I say if anyone's felt offended in any way, shape or form, it's not my intention to offend anyone, and I don't think my act is offensive. There's no swearing in it, there's no bad language, there's the odd like innuendo-y thing which a lot of people do, but again, that's reading the audience, and you have to put it in the right spot at the right time, but not make a big thing of it. Just put it in and let it go, and if it gets a titter, it gets a titter. You make your own joke up. That's for them to decide.
So is there anything you don't like about the industry and working within pantomime?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. I hate it when people just walk the show. They literally they're getting good money. They come on stage, you build that energy up, and they just walk it. They just basically deliver the lines. There's no pathos. There's no emotion there. They just get on, say the lines, and saunter off. And I've seen it with not just names, but people that are just jobbing actors. It's normally one of my biggest hates is when you do Christmas Eve, like the Christmas Eve, and you've got Christmas Day off, and everyone says, "Oh, have a great. If I don't see you tomorrow, have a great Christmas." let's have a good show, let's have a fast one. And then I normally say, well, no, let's just have a good show and do the show like we've been doing for the last 25, 30 performances. In fact, why not let's give them a little bit extra, because they've probably paid a little bit more on the ticket and it's their Christmas. This is their Christmas treat. Same with Boxing Day, New Year's Eve. And I just think that 5 minutes does not save you any, that 5 minutes of the show will not save you much more of your enjoying your Christmas. In fact, you'll probably get stuck in traffic for an extra 5 minutes, because everyone will be going at the same time. So that was one of my biggest things that I don't like, is when people turn around and it doesn't happen often, but they just say, let's just have a quick one, let's just whip through it. And they normally look at the comics, because they always think the comic's the person that puts the time on, and it's not. Sometimes I just think, like, we're getting too politically correct, and it can be, you can go through the script and everything's just been, like, gone over with a bit of bleach, the sort of innuendo-y jokes or whatever have gone. I'm not saying they should always be in there, but that is part of the tradition, that is where some people listen to it, watch the show, and they go, I like that bit when you're a little bit cheeky, a little bit wee. And that's what people like sometimes, you've got to remember that people go to Panto not only to be entertained, but they might have a really rubbish life. They might have someone that's got the cancer or is on their last legs, or and for them that's 2 hours of escapism. They just, whatever financially they might have no money left. They're absolutely whatever, but for that 2 hours it's pure escapism, and that's when they call and response and they can shout out and join in. They're going to love it for forever and ever, and that's what they'll remember, is that however bad their life is, they've had 2 hours of pure pleasure, and they can just join in and just shout out and forget everything else that's going on in the world.
And how does that make you feel to know your part of People's Christmas like that?
I love it. I love it when people say to me, "We come every year. You start our Christmas. When we come to Panto, you're the start of our Christmas." And you go, "What?" And you go, "Yeah, we always come to Panto like the day before, like Christmas Eve, or the day before Christmas Eve, like the 23rd or whenever. We come here, and that's our stop. That's when we know Christmas is coming. That you're like everyone's like, oh, I've just seen the Coca-Cola van. That we know Christmas. That's when when you've seen that advert, that we're not far off from Christmas. So to be part of that little in their life, and they know that when they've seen a Panto, they know Christmas is coming, and then there's a whole build-up. So that's a great little thing. And like going back to the photos, having photos taken with the families growing up every year, and they'll say, oh, we've seen you last year, and we saw you the year before. I've had people that have come from, I was in New Brighton in 2013, and I actually were visiting friends down south, and they knew that I was down there, so they'd actually booked to come and see the show because they remembered how good it was, or how good I was in New Brighton, in sort of the Wirral. And it was just crazy that these people, they said, oh, you probably won't remember us, but we saw you in New Brighton in 2013 in Jack and the Beanstalk. And we're visiting friends, and we've come to see them, so we brought them along as well. And then you go, this is my auntie and this is my uncle, and they talk to you as if you can remember them from 6-7 years ago. You go, oh yeah, and I'm thinking, how do I get out? Because you don't want to offend anyone. Say I have no idea who you are, and then they might just say, oh yeah, we had a picture with you, and we remember you had that really funny coloured top on, and you go, oh yeah, I remember, and it had the sequins, and you're sort of like blagging it now, but they feel so part of you. They feel like you're part of their family in a way. But that's such a great feeling, being part of someone's Christmas.
Do you get your regulars as well?
Yeah, I get, like I say, we get a lot. Especially I do the Christmas light switch on as well, so they get to see me again there and have photos. And there are a lot of, especially at Malvern. Malvern's such a great caption area, because you get the regular schools, you get the regular families that go in year out. And I think regardless if I was there or not, they would still go, because it's their local theatre and they support local live shows, which is a great thing. But knowing that I'm there, they know that they've seen me 2 years previously, so they go, oh yeah, he's really good, he's funny, or that's what I hope they think, they say. Because they've seen me, they go, we know what he does, we like his character, he's great with the kids, not only that, he's great with the adults, it's going to be a great show. So you've won half the battle already. You don't, and I find, when you do the first year, you really got to find that audience. You really got to get them on your side, and if you don't get them on your side, it's very hard if you not to. But I find if you don't get them on your side within the first 2 minutes, it's quite a slog panto because they're not with you or till maybe halfway through the show. I've never really had that problem. Because I always just really try and work it, or if I feel like I'm not got them, I just really work, and you're stoking that fire inside you just to burn it even more. So now I still try and win them over that fast, but I just feel like there's that barrier because they already know me, and as soon as I come out this year, we're just in the process of building sort of like a little production for me to come out of, So when I come out, hopefully the idea is that I'll get a cheer. Because they go, and I make a little reference of, like a lot of comics, they say, this year, my name's Wishy Washy this year. And it's an old gag, but everyone uses it because it gets a laugh, because it's true. One of the things I did last year, when I played Buttons in the first year at Malvern, I did this little song, and it was just a little snippet. And then last year I was Muddles, so I did exactly the same song, but instead of singing Buttons, I just put Muddles in. And this year I'm Wishy Washy, so we're toying with the idea of doing the same song again, but just putting the word wishy in it. So it's just a play on the fact that, because then I say, and I'm so excited to be here for my third year. They said to me this year, definitely got a new song, da-da-da-da. And I just sing the same tune that they heard last year and the year before, like a running gag.
Yeah.
And I just think, there's going to come a point where one year I'm going to be a character that it's not going to fit in lyrically wise, so we'll just have to stop it. But up until now, it works out really well. And for me, my character, although I've got the high voice, certain years. So, for example, last year I was Muddles, so I played him as a really rubbish magician. So my catchphrase was, how we doing, Magic Muddles? And it was a play on the Magic Muddles because I was Magic Muddles. I was a trainee magician, and I'd set this card trick up, and it was just a play on throughout the whole thing. I've set this card trick up, keep getting it wrong, and then right at the end you get the resolved, and I've got it right. I've played him as a rubbish inventor, so every time I come on and say hiya, whatever, hiya kids, I come on and I'm this rubbish inventor that is just rubbish at what he does. So there's lots of things like that I try and add in to make each character different throughout the years that I do.
Well, this leads me on to my very last question.
Oh,
your dream panto.
I thought you were going to say, how much money would you like to earn a year?
Well, I can tell by this
my
gorgeous surroundings that we're in at the moment.
Hey,
it's
my chaise longue.
Yes, beautiful. So, dream panto.
Dream panto. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks, and I kept thinking to myself, I must write it down because I'll forget. And I started doing it last night, and I just stared at the screen. I was like, who can I have? Because there's so many greats. I mean, I'd love off before we started recording, I was saying, like Bruce Forsyth and all the late greats that have gone. There's so many that I would love to have seen in panto that I never got the chance to. So for me, I would do Cinderella because it's a show that I've done for many times, and for me, playing Buttons, it's a great role and it's a lovely show. I know so many people have said they would pick the Palladium, but I want to be different. I wanted to say the Futurist in Scarborough. Now it's no longer there, the theatre, and it was a fantastic theatre. And in its heyday, it would have been the same as, like we said, the Palladium, the Opera House at Blackpool. It would have had all the stars. And I think one of the biggest stars to last play at it before it got knocked down. It was only the last 6 months that it's been condemned and knocked down, and just flattened into a car park. Was Gary Barlow did a big gig down there, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago before it was closed. And I remember going there, and I remember watching, because it was also a cinema as well. It doubled up as a theatre and a cinema. And I remember watching Lord of the Rings, one of the trilogy. And when we got our tickets, the guy said, "You're very welcome to watch the show." He said, "Just to let you know that the heating's not working." And we were like, no, it's fine. We got to about 2 hours in and we were shivering. And we had to literally go to the toilets and put our hands under the hand dryer to keep warm. It was that cold. But it was a gorgeous theatre, you know, and I could...
So I want the Panto set in its heyday.
Yeah, in its heyday. You know, when it was... No, not with a cold, yeah. Hello, you're welcome to see the Panto, but there's no heating. Yeah. But no, when it was in its proper, really night, when it was like, wow... Because I think a lot of these theatres, they do get sort of run down over time and over years, and it costs a lot of money to keep going. So I'd have it Futurist in Scarborough, in Cinderella. So Cinderella would be Sean Gibson. Most people might know her from Car Share. I just think she's such a cute little face, and like... I think she's a bit like my face. And people say to me, "Oh, you got a cute little face," but she just looks. I could just imagine her as Cinderella. I'd have Peter Kay as Buttons. One, because I don't think he's done a panto, or if he has, I've never seen him in a panto billing. If I'm wrong, I do apologise, but I think he would be fantastic. Baron, I've got Patrick Stewart. Just because I grew up with Star Trek and sort of that era, and then obviously he was in X-Men. The Uglies, I've got Rod and Freddie from Rainbow. Again, my childhood heroes. I grew up with Rod, Jane and Freddie, and I know, talking, because I worked with Jane many years ago in Cinderella, she was the fairy. She told me stories of how Rod and Freddie were both Uglies in Panto. I'd never seen them as Uglies, but I would think they'd be brilliant. I could just imagine them. And again, I just want it to be different, because there's so many good people out there and to choose from, and I didn't want to pick anyone that had already been chosen by someone else. I just thought, let someone else have that. The Prince, so I just thought, well, it'd be funny to have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, so Will Smith. Again, this is Will Smith a little bit younger, not... I mean, it's still great now, but as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that's the era that I'm going 20s. For. In his 20s, yeah, you know, I just keep saying it. So the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as Will Smith, and Dandini, I went for, again, in his sort of broom cupboard era, Philip Schofield. But when, again, this is going back to my youth and growing up with Philip Schofield and Gordon the Gopher. And, oh, yeah, we could get Gordon, and Gordon could be one of the Shetland ponies going to fly there. And then Fairy, I put, and this is because I worked with this lovely lady a couple of years ago. In fact, both of them I worked with. I've put Fairy, but I'm going to put it as the Fairy Sisters. So instead of a fairy godmother, they've got fairy god sisters. And that's Alison Hammond, who's an absolute diamond, and she's just got this such an infectious laugh. I used to love... We were playing Cinderella, and she was the fairy godmother, and I used to love doing one of the routines, one of the scenes would do. I would love to try and get her to laugh on stage, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go off on a tangent, but just like a mannerism that I would do, or something I would do, would make her laugh. And the reason being is because she's got this big Afro-Caribbean laugh that was best described if I remember Rusty Lee, if anyone remembers Rusty Lee's laugh, and it's so infectious. And she would do this laugh, and everyone would know she's laughing genuinely, and they would laugh, and then she'd laugh even more, and it was like a domino. It would just echo and then get bigger and bigger. And she used to come off stage and went, "Oh, I can't believe I laughed on stage." And I was like, no, that's what's great about it, because it's a genuine laugh and it's not a false laugh, and they love it. So I would have Alison Hammond as Fairy, and with the Fairy Sister I would also have Jane Tucker, because you can't have Rod and Freddie without Jane from Rainbow, so you'd have Rod, Jane and Freddie in it. And that would be my dream panto. I'd probably just produce it and direct it, because it's just, well, I wouldn't want to step on anyone's toes.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking part in the Panto podcast.
No, it's been a pleasure. You know, there you go. I didn't know I ever said that much. I didn't realise I don't do it when I'm doing cabaret, though. When I don't keep saying, you know. There you go. That's probably my nerves, to be fair. Oh, you know.
Cheers.
But no, it's been a pleasure.